Hi everybody, thank you for joining me again today on Re-Written Vintage Rescue. It's a beautiful day here today in the Midwest. It's a little windy and we've had a lot of rain, so it's still too muddy and wet to be planting seeds yet. So now is a good time to look around your yard and your homestead and say, what is it that nature's given me that I already have that I can use instead of burning or destroying? And so today we're going to talk about pine cones. There's so many things you can do with pine cones around the homestead and in your yard and in your garden or with your flowers. So don't just get rid of them. And as you can see, I have a whole lot of pine trees in my yard. So I try to use the pine needles for tea and tenicures and salves. And I try to find different ways to use my pine cones. Now, first of all, I want to say that I am not a horticulturist. I do not have a degree in horticulture. You don't have to either. If you like me, though, you're curious. So you read what you can, you ask people questions if you're interested in something. And I love the outdoors, and I love to garden, and I love nature. So I'm always asking questions, I'm always reading, and I'm always watching videos so I learn more and more. And because of that, I've learned how to reduce, reuse, and recycle what I have, and it's saved me a lot of money. And I'm hoping to share all of that with you. So one of the things you can do with pine cones is when you're planting your flowers this year or you're planting your vegetables in pots, instead of filling the whole thing up with dirt, use your pine cones as a filler. Put them in the bottom of your pot to help filter your water down into the soil without losing water and running out. Now the good thing about pine cones is that they will break down and they'll actually feed your soil. So don't forget to use your pine cones as filler and save some money on soil this year. You know, you can make gardening fun too, and pine cones help with that. So one thing you can use them for, we've already talked about how great they are for your plants. They save you a lot of money. You don't have to go out and buy bags of mulch. And so what I do, I have a whole lot of pine cones, so I gather them all together. I put them in big garbage bags, and then I break them down when they're good and dry. And one way you can do that is stomp on them. Maybe your kids or your grandkids will help you do that. You can also take a shovel, take your shovel and beat it down until they're a nice flat layer that you can use in your garden, or you can have some more fun too. For plants that are acidic. Rhododendrons, azaleas, they love pine cones because the acid feeds into them and it makes their color just vibrant and beautiful when they begin to bloom. So you want to use your pine cones around your plants as a border. That helps several ways. Number one, it keeps your water from running off. It keeps your other mulch and your soil from running off, and it feeds the plant as well. So don't forget to use pine cones as a border for your acidic plants. Pine cones also make a beautiful rustic border if you're wanting to add some decoration from nature out in your garden or in your flowers. So take your pine cones, and it doesn't matter the shape. You can mold them any way you would like. And so out here in my yard, I have the long skinny ones. So I just take them and I just keep putting them on top of each other in a row to kind of get a nice natural border around my plants, and it looks so pretty. But let's think about the other things this is good for. So when you put a border like this around your plants, it also attracts insects such as ladybugs, and ladybugs are great for killing aphids on your plants. And they also attract other insects that need to find a place to hide and draws them to your garden. And so they just help with nature's ecosystem. So that's something you might want to try too, is making a border in your flowers, something rustic that not only looks pretty, but it helps nature too. Before you get rid of those pine cones and throw them in the trash or burn them, don't forget your little feathered friends. This is a fun activity to do with your kids or your grandkids or just by yourself. So take your pine cones, slather them in peanut butter or bacon grease. So that's another use for your bacon grease instead of just throwing it out. You'll need a plastic bag and some bird seed. And then you just slather that in peanut butter, put it in the bag, shake it up so it covers it really well. Now I'm going to use my jute string again because it's also biodegradable. So after a while it'll fall down into the dirt and it'll fall apart too and feed the earth. So I'm going to get my pine cone. And see, you have your own bird feeder. Don't even have to go to the store for that. And I'm just going to tie a knot anywhere on the pine cone just to hold it. And then I'm going to tie it to the tree. So let's go do that and see if we draw any of our feathered friends. One of my favorite things to do with pine cones are pine cone crafts, and there's literally hundreds of crafts out there on Pinterest you can look up, or you may remember from your Girl Scouting or your brownie days. One of my favorite things to do is to make candles, but you can take pine cones and make wonderful scented air fresheners. So I wanted to show you how to do that. Anytime you do a pine cone craft, you want to bring it in. Don't bring them in until you're ready to work with them, because you'll get sometimes insects that live in there. So leave them outside for just a little bit, let them air out. Bring them in, rinse them off, put them in a pan, put them in the oven for about 200 degrees for 20 minutes. Now, all ovens vary, so keep an eye on them. But what that does is it kills any bugs or bacteria, moss, algae, anything that's on your pine cones, okay? Now what I did was I just have a pot here that's got about 2 inches of water in it. And I have this old pitcher. And I found these bags. I really like these bags. They keep your pouring pitchers from getting ruined so quickly. You can also use an old tin can and just push the top of it so that you have a pouring spout if you don't want to invest in one of these. But they're only like, I think at Hobby Lobby I got just the can and it was maybe $5. So I put my bag in it. Now today I'm using chips. I'm using wax chips, but you can also get wax in bars like this, or you can get beeswax that comes in rolls or chips. And so what I've done is I have melted this. It's just like a makeshift double boiler. And I have melted my wax. Now I was wanting, you know, I like anything that smells like food. I know, it's my downfall. So what I did was I added some cinnamon and some coffee to that. You just take your coffee, sprinkle some in. It also gives it a real pretty speckled look. Same with your cinnamon. And then I just used my cinnamon. You can either use essential oils or you can get these flavorings from any hobby shop. Over here on my counter, I just have a brown paper bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pine cones and I'm going to drop it in there and dip it real good. you go. I'm going to take it out and let it dry. Now, as the wax builds up on these, they get so pretty. But they take 3 or 4 dips to get the look you want. Also, the more you dip them, when they start to dry, they'll get a base on the bottom there, so they'll stand up nice for you. This smells really good. What a great way to preserve nature, don't you think? And these look so pretty in a bowl, especially in the fall, with some artificial apples and some dried orange slices, cinnamon sticks. And you can dress them up with glitter. But I'm just going to use mine. I'm going to put them in a simple bowl. One in the restroom and one in the kitchen here, one in the living room, just so that they smell nice. See, as the wax starts to settle on the bottom, they start sitting up nicely for you. There you go. You want to be careful because your water can splash you, so be really careful. Just swirl it in there. Something else that's nice about these bags is you can keep your wax. So whatever I don't use, I'm just going to let it harden and tie it off, and then I'll use it again next time for something else. Let's see. There we go. I wanted to show you guys too, when you get for gifts, if people buy you candles, or if you see these at thrift stores or Goodwill stores, save them. Bring them home, put them in a pan of hot water, and it'll melt the wax right out of there. And you can reuse them to make your own candles. And we're going to have a more in-depth candle video, different things you can do, like make whipped cream so it looks like food. And I wanted to show you that when I have leftover wax, I put a wick in, and then I just keep adding my leftover wax. When I'm done, I have a brand new candle. So that saves some money too. Plus, as it burns down, I get different scents, and that's always fun too. Okay. And I'm going to bring my first one here in a minute and show you guys the kind of luster it has on it. This is my first one. Do you see how shiny it's getting? It's got a little bit of sparkle to it. So let's give this one another coat. And like I said, I'm just going to keep dipping. And then eventually they'll have a nice thick coat on them, and the smell will last anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Excited, you guys. I had a little wax left over, so I think I'm going to have enough to make a couple candles. For these little ones, it's real easy if you already have a candle burning to just dip the bottom of the wick in that and then set it right in your candle. To make these pretty, I broke up a couple cinnamon sticks, and I'm going to set those in there so that you can see them. See that one? See if I can get that one to stand up a little better. Put a little wax on it too. There we go. Then I'm just going to pour my wax in each one. Go, and be careful when you're pouring this hot wax. Isn't that pretty? Look at all the speckles from the coffee. I love it. And don't worry if your wick falls over. Once it starts drying a little bit, you can move it over. Won't bother anything at all. I may be able to get 2 out of this. Let's see. Hope so. Yeah. Go, and I can add a little more here. There. think my daughters might like these. Here we go. And what I think I'm going to do to add just a little polish to them, I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon on the top, just to give it a pretty look. Nice, pretty brown look. They have a cinnamon stick in them, some coffee and some cinnamon flavoring. It's going to smell so good. And when it starts to dry, you'll be able to see those cinnamon sticks in there too. Oh, I wanted to show you my pine cones. Look at how pretty these turned out. See, the more you dip them, the thicker they get. And I sprinkled some coffee on the top. Oh, they smell so good. And if you put them on a little doily, they look so old-fashioned and pretty. And you know what this cost me to do? A little bag of wax. That's all. You know, those are pretty for little gifts too. You could wrap them up or wedding favors. I've seen people put little wicks. All you would have to do is get a wick and tie it around the bottom all the way through to the top as you're dipping your wax. And you could use them as fire starters for your fireplace, or for if you're outside, if you have one of those burning pits or something, you could give them as gifts. They're just as cute as they can be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope this motivates you to go out and get those pine cones, and with your leftover wax, make some candles, and just make your house smell